Hey guys, it's Jessica and I'm here with another card tutorial for you. Today I am making a Valentine's Day card using the Fawn Science of Love stamp set, which is just super adorable. I'll also be using a stamp set from My Favorite Things called Our Story. We'll see that a little bit later. So here to start the card, what I'm doing is stamping a couple of images from the Science of Love stamp set. So that's the little calculator there. Next, I went ahead and used the book. So I started with my larger images, and then I went from the larger to the smaller images to kind of fill in the space to create my own background. So I started with the larger ones that included the calculator and the book, and I went ahead and stamped those as I thought they looked cute. And as I did that, I kind of just used the empty space to figure out where I wanted to stamp next. The ink that I'm using is Memento Tuxedo Black ink, and it's good in case you want to do any Copic coloring. I decided not to do that with this particular card, but I like to have the option in case I decide I want to do something like that. So here I'm just stamping the beakers. And these images are too cute. I absolutely love them. I pretty much love everything from Fawn. Their little stamps are just adorable. And you can see the little smoke with the hearts coming out. It's like a super cute science experiment. So really, really loved that. And I went ahead and stamped the other beaker. And then there's the tiniest one that I went ahead and added at the end. Once I've got all my stamps where I want them, I did go ahead and use a stitched rectangle die from Fawn to cut this out so that it would fit nicely on my card front. Before I did that though, I did think that there was a little bit too much empty space, so I went back in with some of the hearts that came in that Science of Love stamp set. So I started with a larger solid heart and used that to fill in some of that blank space, and then I went ahead and used the smaller heart also again to fill in the extra space that was empty there. I thought it just looked nicer with a little bit more to fill in so that it wasn't quite so empty. So then once I got all of the stamping where I wanted it, like I said, I did go ahead and use the stitched rectangle die to cut that out so it would fit on my card front. And I also used distress ink to add a little bit of color to my background. So I thought it would look really cute with kind of like a grayscale or almost newspaper sort of look to it. And so I decided to use the pumice stone color. It's a nice gray, and it adds a little bit without being too overwhelming with the color. It's nice. And I thought then that this could be used for a more masculine card. At the end, I'll let you decide if you think it's masculine enough, but I just thought that the gray kind of gave it a little bit of more versatility rather than having, you know, everything be bright and colorful for this one. So there's the stitched rectangles. I have both the large and the small stitched rectangle dies in the same die storage sleeve, and I just store them together because that's easier for me. But I have both sets. There is a large set and a small set, and they're both from Fawn. There I used my Cuttlebug to die cut that because it was on top of my craft mat. It was kind of like moving all over the place, so sorry about that. And here I decided to mat it with a sheet of black cardstock, so I used my tape gun to go ahead and adhere that. And there it is. So I decided to use the same stamp set for my sentiment also. So I used the We Have Great Chemistry, and there I'm just deciding kind of where I want it and what I want to do with it. There I have my Stamp Perfect from Hampton Arts, and I'm going to use that to go ahead and stamp my sentiment. My Misty is otherwise engaged at the moment, so I decided to use this one. I did go ahead and use my anti-static powder tool from EK Success to prepare my surface for stamping with the Versamark watermark ink. That way it didn't stick with the embossing powder anywhere I didn't want it to. So now that I've got that nice sticky ink on my cardstock, I went ahead and used white embossing powder from Ranger, and then I will go ahead and use my heat tool to melt that embossing powder. I really liked the way the white stood out against that red cardstock. I did have a little bit of stray embossing powder, and I went ahead and used a paintbrush to scrape a little bit of that off. That way I didn't have any extra powder where I didn't need it. So once I got that heat set with my tool, and all of the embossing powder is nice and melted, I went ahead and trimmed it with my Fiskars paper trimmer. I did have a little bit of trouble getting exactly where I wanted it. As you can see, I opened and closed that like a million times, but I just wanted to be sure that it was perfect and not getting too close or too far away. So once that was done, I decided that I wanted it to have kind of like a little banner flag end. So I cut in the middle, and then I cut from the corners into that center line where I cut to make a little banner. I just thought that looked a little bit cuter than just having the plain rectangular shape. So then I decided to use this My Favorite Things stamp set called Our Story. And I thought I was going to use both the little girl with the chair and the boy with the book, but then I decided it was too busy and I only went with the little girl. She's super adorable sitting in this little chair, and she's got her book, so I thought that I could make it work with my science or chemistry sort of feel for this card. I am going to be the first person to admit that I am horrible at Copic coloring. I have so much to learn, so please don't judge me, but I do pretty much just solid coloring for the most part. I am still learning, and I'm not super brave yet with my Copic coloring, so I mostly just color in with one color, and I'll do a little bit of minimal shading, but honestly, I feel like you can't ever even tell that I've done any shading, so I still have a lot to learn. I know I'm going to be watching a ton of videos trying to figure out how exactly to blend better. I just haven't mastered it yet. So I'm just going ahead and coloring in, picking out some random colors that I thought were cute. I'm trying to do better about putting the cap on the craft mat there so you can see what color I used, but as you can tell, I didn't do it for every color, so I'm sorry about that. Not that I'm blending, so you probably don't really need to know what color it is anyway, but in case you wanted to. I'm trying to get better. I'll keep practicing and keep working on it, so hopefully in future videos I'll do a better job of always putting that cap down. So there, I did go out of the lines a little bit, and I just used a white Jelly Roll pen to erase that, essentially. Since I'd be die cutting it and it has a white border around it anyway, I just think that's the easiest way to do it. That way I don't have to start over. And then there I went ahead, used a skin tone color for her. Now on her hair, I did try a little bit of blending, nothing too fancy. I just used two colors and started with my lighter color, went over the top of that with a darker, and then blended it out with the lighter color. I'll have to see, you know, what I can do to liven up my Copic coloring, so hopefully I can provide some videos in the future that have better examples of that. Then I decided that that was not enough, and she needed some little accessories to go with her, so I picked out the little dresser or side table that is in that same Our Story stamp set from My Favorite Things. And I went ahead and Copic colored it and die cut it. There I was testing out some different color options. Sorry if you could hear a little bit of whining there. That was my 4-month-old waking up from his nap. He's happy now, and we are sitting together to do the rest of this video. So I am just finishing up that little dresser. Again, super basic coloring. I really am not very good at Copic coloring yet. Hopefully later I'll have some better examples for you. Again, I went outside the line, so I used my Jelly Roll pen to cover up that. And then I went ahead and used my wire snips to disconnect those dies from all of the others. That way I could go ahead and die cut the dresser. Once I had that all die cut and ready to go, I did also stamp and cut out, I fussy cut it, but I cut out the little beaker and colored it red from the Lawn Fawn set. And then I went ahead and used these foam adhesive pieces from Recollections. You're supposed to use just the little circles, but I'm a little cheap and I actually use the entire backing of the foam circles also, so that I'm not wasting money and just throwing it away. It's perfectly good. No one's going to see the back of it, so I figure, hey, why not? So I just cut it up into little pieces that fit what I'm working on, and that's that. So then I went ahead and removed all of the backings from those foam pieces, and I adhered the sentiment to my page also. Went ahead and attached all of my little pieces on their foam dots, and they're super cute. Then I decided what would be cuter than having some little bubbles coming out of the beaker, like some sort of love potion concoction or something, who knows. So I went ahead and used just some generic sequins that I had on hand, and I used my quick stick and some matte multi-medium from Ranger to stick those onto the page, kind of like they were billowing up in smoke. And then I thought it was kind of cute, and it tied together the theme in the background with the little girl, like maybe she was studying a little love potion recipe or something. And then I decided to add a little bit of sparkle to the beaker with my Wink of Stella clear glitter pen, and now it's really super shimmery. So there is the card for today. I thought it turned out pretty cute for really not having any idea where I was going with it when I first started, but there it is. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more videos like this.